What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is Wednesday night. Hump night. Hump day. Hump night. Depending on where you are. Maybe it's not hump night. Maybe it was a hump day. Maybe it's a hump neither. I don't know, but we're here to talk Halloween tonight. And actually, wasn't on the agenda, but given some of the rumors that have come down today, we're also going to talk a little bit about James Bond. There's some news there, and a pretty big director possibly attached to the next 2 Bond films. It's going to make headlines, that's for sure. Joining me tonight, first time in a little while, one, the only, the Halloween Ends lover himself, Mr. Matt Whitfield. What's going on, man?
Did you just say I like the Halloween Ends? I mean, I know you were probably drinking tonight, but I didn't know you were drunk to say that. Good God, Sean.
Not drunk. Not yet, anyway. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. Work. Exhausted. But I'm here to enjoy the night with you and these 5 people.
Yeah, I don't think tonight will be too long of one, just simply because I'm still not feeling up to par and you're exhausted. Yeah. But there's some stuff to get to. There's some articles to read.
Definitely.
We got one from One Take News. I want to highlight something that Dave McRae said. But, you know, lo and behold it, man. It's almost October, and here we are talking Halloween. Once again, despite there not being a movie coming out, it's arguably making more headlines this year without a movie than it did last year with a movie, at least over the last week.
Yeah. Interesting times.
It is. It's interesting times because at the moment there's endless possibilities of where this could go. You know, I think the most appropriate and probably responsible thing people could do is keep their expectations in check. You know, this is a franchise that has a parade of behind-the-scenes issues over the years.
Yeah, definitely.
And dare I say, there's the potential for more, given what's going on here and how the rights work with this particular franchise. Matt, what was your reaction when you found out that I mean, I guess it's not too big of a surprise because what was it, a few months ago on Patreon, we did an episode of Lambkin Lane when we said there's more Halloween being pitched, more Halloween in development, if you will. And here we are, and thankfully that has paid off. But we're not really clear which direction it's going in. You have been someone that for the last year have been pretty adamant about whatever the next movie is, they need to still find a way to do it on a decent sized budget and aim for it to be as financially and critically successful anyways as at least Halloween 2018.
I mean, yeah, that's always been my expectation, because I think that's what we want to some level. What we got out of 08. I mean, 08 wasn't, what, 10 million? I mean, not 08,
before marketing. Yeah, 2018 was 10 million before marketing.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a bad budget. I mean, I'm probably thinking, people are thinking probably on a lesser scale and everything. But after just the way it ends, the way it finished, it just left such a bad taste in the fans' mouth, a lot of us. And so I think it's only right that if we can get with the right studio, maybe put a little extra money into it, we could definitely get a good movie. But if it's on a smaller scale, yeah, it'll be okay too. But I think the they owe it to the fans because I think they know the backlash. The cons know the backlash. Everybody knows the backlash of the 10 minutes that one Michael Aubrey Myers was in Halloween Ends.
I
And
sorry to cut you off here. Apollo he randomly brings up one of our topics tonight, so I do want to address it. He says, "Am I the only one that wants a break? Let the shape rest for a while." Well, so here's the thing with that, and I believe me, as a guy who was completely burnt out of Star Wars after 3 movies in a row were The Last Jedi, Solo, and then The Rise of Skywalker, I totally understand having burnout. It's completely reasonable to feel that way. But I would also suggest that, you are getting your break because even though we are talking about this on September the 27th, 2023, you're not going to, like, at earliest, you're going to see anything related to, in my guess, a TV series, possibly a movie. It is, and this is a rush job, 2 years from now. At earliest, more realistically, 3 years from now. So you are going to get your break, but the problem is it's 2023 and you just don't let an IP go stale anymore. Oh Jesus, pardon my language. I'm not gonna put it on screen. I don't know if he meant to have it in the chat, but just Linton's a long-time supporter of this channel, and he's been with us for a very long time and has been pretty vocal about his support of the channel and the people around it. So definitely just want to say, echo Dustin's sentiments and Dean's sentiments. We're really sorry for your loss, Linton. And man, you have, I don't know if you have Matt on Messenger, but you have me on Messenger. You ever need to talk or just vent as a guy who has 110% been in your shoes right now?
exactly.
I get it. Sometimes you just need to talk, and believe me, that's far more important than any Halloween topic that we're going to talk about tonight, or James Bond for that matter. But hopefully, at least for the next 45 minutes or so, we can provide you some level of escapism, and we definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your day, considering what's going on, man. We're thinking about you.
Yeah, for real. We're here. On to
Go ahead, man.
piggyback off that thought. I mean, you're thinking 2025. I mean, and here we go, 2025, 2026. And there's going to be a 50th anniversary movie. So it almost feels that one would be the rush job to go to get one ready in 2 years' time, unless they film them back to back. So you're talking 2025 for a movie, 2026 for a movie. I'm thinking we might not get a movie to 2028 for the 50th, but we might get the TV series before then.
I think it depends. I've been pretty adamant about if they don't do something on or in 2028, it's a missed opportunity. Like, you're celebrating 50 years of the franchise, and I don't feel any different about Star Wars, which will have its 50 year the year before in
Yeah,
2027. You have to do something big on those years when you're talking about 50 years since the beginning. To not do something with that is just a huge missed marketing opportunity for both of those properties, really. If you haven't yet, please take a moment, click the like button, leave a comment down in the live chat or after the fact in the comment section down below. Hit subscribe, slash the notification bell, share the stream around if you want, if you like the quality that we're putting out and the topics that we're discussing. I apologize for my voice. I'm still recovering from whatever the hell this sickness has been. 2 weeks and counting now. It's ridiculous. I want to go back to Apollo's comment here. Where was it now? Let the shape rest for a while. Well, I mean, the truth is, it's just not how the entertainment industry works anymore. Like, you're coming off of whether you like Halloween Kills or Halloween Ends, or if you didn't like either one of them. You're coming off back to back to back over $100 million films at the box office. When the franchise had none prior to these three. You are probably going to milk that cash cow. Not to mention, I think it's important to remember that The Exorcist, which is that out this weekend? Is that how close it is? I know it's soon. Maybe someone in the chat.
I think it's like 2 weeks. Saw us this weekend.
Saw us this weekend.
Yeah.
The Exorcist rights were $400 million. Now, let's touch on that for a second, because it is relatable to Halloween here. It honestly is. Universal paid $400 million. Sorry for my cat here. $400 million just for the right to make these films, but also put them on their streaming service as well. Which is important to note. I don't know how fast we're going to get physical media from these new Exorcist movies. It might be right away, but I could also see Universal being like, yeah, you want to watch it after this? You're going to have to go to Peacock for a while. But $400 million, that does not include the production budgets for any of the films. That does not include marketing for any of the films. Rights deals are just at an all-time high. They honestly are. If you're talking sports, you're talking wrestling, you're talking the entertainment industry. It's insane how much people are paying. And if you dive into it, like you dive into what Netflix is doing, what Prime's doing, all these streaming services are in massive amounts of debt. Tons. They're paying for the content to try to get you to their product. And I got to tell you, I look at that $400 million Exorcist deal, and I sit here, and you got to remember when this movie comes out, and that's 400 for 3 of them, by the way. The money that you see them bring in at the box office is not all theirs. That is not how it works. And 400 million, which doesn't include marketing for the films, which is going to cost a lot of money. This could end up being a devastatingly horrible deal for Universal. For Exorcist fans, I hope it isn't. I hope it's successful. I think there's been every indication to that shows that it might not be all that great. But like, these movies are gonna, like, realistically, this is not me having done all the due diligence on the numbers, but when you look at what it costs to market a movie these days, Matt, and then
30.
the actual production budget, right? These 3 movies, and you got to include the cut that theaters get too. These 3 movies are probably going to have to combine to make somewhere in the range of 700 to 800 million just to break even. Just to break
I don't
even.
even think they're going to come near that.
So, and no, their counterpoint to that will be, well, they are exclusively on Peacock, right? So that'll be what they stick to, and I don't know how those exclusive rights go or work, and then obviously there'll be some pay-per-view buys as well, stuff like that. But that's a tall order, man. That was a lot of money to pay for a franchise that I'm not sure a ton of people were asking for. Like Braden Timmons and I just spoke about it the other day. There's people that shit all over Wolfman Got Nards, Barry there for his take on, well, guess what? If you're going to sell off the Halloween rights, and we're talking film rights right now, film rights and TV rights are two different beasts. They are. Film rights are almost always worth significantly more than TV rights. If you're going to, auction off 3 or 4 more Halloween films, not to say that they will, one would have to think you're not starting at the Exorcist price. You're starting above the Exorcist price. And I'm not saying no one's going to pay for it, but like it's a hell of a gamble to put that kind of money, especially when you look at the box office this year, man. And there's some successes, but there's some movies that have done terribly. Like I look at Indiana Jones 5. I went to see it. I didn't mind it. I thought it was okay. It wasn't horrible. I didn't like it as much as 4, and most people hate 4. And it's going to lose something like $150 million. Now, Disney can probably handle that loss. Can other companies? I think that's debatable. That's very, very debatable. So my point, my long-winded point here, Apollo, is when Trancas is sitting there going, or in terms of the film rights, Trancas and Miramax, like when they have a chance to make $500 million off of auctioning a few film rights off, you're probably going to do that. So the days of letting an IP sit stale are just they've come and they've gone, and it's not going to change, and I think they've already been, I don't know if it's intentional, but like take a look back at all the Halloween products that have either come out this year or are still coming out this year. They are soaking the IP, or pardon me, draining the IP for every dime they have, because that's just what you do when you have something that's worth money now. You don't let it sit there for 6 years when people bicker over what to do. So you are going to get a bit of a break just because it's going to take time to get something out. But make no mistake, this is happening. It's not if it's going to happen. It's happening. The question is who and when. So Matt, I pose the question to you, man. I'm going to step away here for a minute. When you answer it, I'll be able to hear you though. Movie, TV series, or both?
Both. I think what they need to do is they need to get something for Season of the Witch, because there is a cult following for it. And I think the best direction for Season of the Witch would be TV. I don't know if you would make it 20 years later, 30 years later. What happens again happens. What happened then happens again. Something that they can drag out for a 6 to 8 week run on a streaming service, or and it could be Peacock. But Paramount, something like that, I believe that is the best direction for that. And I think that story, I think, needs to be drawn out a little bit more over time. Now with Michael, I believe movies, because you don't have to drag out that story like you do for Halloween 3. I mean, because we've been going. What's this been? What, 40 years since Halloween 3? Almost 40 years. And like I said, there's that cult following, so we want to see something done with that. Want to see where it can be taken, and I don't think you can do that with a movie. That needs to be told in a TV, 6 to 8 episodes. Paramount Plus, get on it. And like I said briefly, movie for Michael, because I think Michael needs to be done on a more larger scale than the movies. And I think the budget for Michael needs to be bigger. So it's more, I believe and I hope that Paramount is where they go, because Paramount's got a budding streaming service. And I mean, they've been around since almost feels like the dawn of time.
Not to mention, I mean, they're currently making
Friday
Dean
13th
Renner's
had them
favorite.
too. Yeah, Friday 13th was where they originated with.
Oh, they're also making Dean Renner's favorite horror franchise right now too. So,
Yeah.
um, um, I want to take a second just to bring up this article from One Take News that probably isn't getting enough attention. 3C Films ended up covering this over on his channel. Big time industry guy, covers a lot that happens in it. His YouTube scales on a scale that we will probably never have the luxury of enjoying. But they go on to say it hasn't even been a year since Evil died. That fateful night in Halloween ends, and it's extremely possible that he will return to terrorize Haddonfield once more. In the newest issue of TFFD, we're breaking down the rumors we've heard about the future of Halloween. As always, take anything with a grain of salt, as it's all rumors here. One Take News can confirm that Miramax is indeed in it. Can start over here. One Take News can confirm that Miramax is indeed a massive bidding war. Okay, so it's not me. It's just the way the article is worded. Going on for the rights to the Halloween franchise, which our friends at Bloody Disgusting first reported. While multiple studios are vying for the rights, we've been told that as of now, Paramount is extremely interested in the property and is prepared to outbid whoever stands in their way. So about that, if you have been watching this channel since last year, right after Halloween Ends came out, we ran a report literally that had Paramount in the thumbnail that said Paramount eyes the Halloween franchise. And that was on the tails of David Gordon Green tipping his hand during the orange carpet premiere of Halloween Ends that Malaka Cat had already moved on to begin at least, the process of working on the next one. Which, again, I'm sure Trancas wasn't overly thrilled that David Gordon Green went and spilled those beans because it has nothing to do with him at that point. They go on to say right now there's no direct competitor for Paramount. If there was going to be anyone competing with them, I wouldn't be surprised to see Blumhouse, who recently had their rights and produced David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy, which, I mean, I think we know a lot of us don't want to see that at this point, because a Blumhouse Halloween movie is probably going to include some sort of continuation from Halloween Ends, which I'm out on. And honestly, Blumhouse, which is essentially Universal, has their hands in so many other pots right now that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But anyways, they go on to basically say Paramount is leading the way right now when it comes to what's going to happen on the film side of things, which is fair at the end of the day. I also want to bring up, do I still have it here? Apologies for that. I want to bring up something Dave McRae posted. He goes on to say, my thoughts on the recent Halloween news. Despite Michael Myers being a proven box office draw, I have very little interest in seeing him back. At least right now, we have 12 Michael Myers movies. There's good, there's bad, there's ugly, but there are 12. The Myers story has been played out. Let it go and allow the fan base to miss his presence, which is kind of what Apollo was saying in the chat. So I don't disagree with what he's saying here. I've said it for years. Go anthology. You could tell weird, creepy, and downright scary stories within the same universe if you wanted. After all, the story of Charlie Bowles has a lot of untapped potential. Was Charlie a killer? Plot twist. Maybe it was his wife. Maybe the kids. So many fucked up directions. And you mentioned Season of the Witch as a possibility. Here's my thing with that. Okay. And I talked, honestly, I had a great conversation with the guy who was our main source throughout the entire David Gordon Green Halloween trilogy. And while he remains a source for different things that we have going on at the channel, the truth is his ability to be as hands-on in a future Halloween project might be hampered by things I don't want to get into because I don't want to tip my hand too much or his hand. But if you're Paramount or Prime or Netflix or New Line, you name it, are you going to pay $400 million or more for the rights to multiple Halloween films? Or even, say, $100 million for the rights to a Halloween TV series? To then turn around and go, we're going to do a bunch of original stories? You don't need the Halloween property to do that. Now, you do need the Halloween property if you're going to take Dave's idea and do Charlie Bowles or things that are set in the same world that Michael Myers exists in. That I can see. But you're still not going to pay out the ass for that. If you're paying, Exorcist type money for multiple flicks, you're not doing that, frankly, not even for Season of the Witch. You're doing that so you have the ability to make Michael Myers movies. You're paying for the right to use the Michael Myers character. And I can tell you right now, and he has no inside information on this whatsoever, but our guy said today that he would be stunned, absolutely stunned, even if a Halloween TV series went the Season of the Witch route, simply because why would you pay that amount of money for, well, it has a cult following and it has grown over the years. Why would you pay 9+ figures for the right to do a TV series and then not use Michael Myers? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense at the end of the day. And you don't go and pay that money if all you're going to do is create original stories, which you could do without the Halloween IP. Matt, where do you stand on that? Like, I can't see any reasonable studio spending that amount of money and not utilizing the main part of the franchise. Just seems like a match made in hell.
See, if it's known that this is the Season of the Witch timeline, this is stories based off the Season of the Witch timeline. If that is known, and they're not paying a god awful exorbitant amount of money, then why I don't see the issue with it. But I mean, we know, everybody knows at this point Michael's coming back. What film studio is going to get it? What film studio is going to get it? That's going to be established. But there's no reason to say that one of our streaming services, like if it's going to Paramount, if Paramount is going to get it, why can't you put something Halloween 3-ish on Paramount Plus?
John says, did you ever see the animatic pitch for 2012 where officers respond to a fire at Smith Grove? Michael lurking. I would guess Halloween Kills probably borrowed from it. I have not, and that's actually not something that's covered in the Taking Shape books either. So if you have a link to that, John, I know you have me on Facebook. Hit me up. I wouldn't mind looking into that. Matt and I have been on a deep dive that will continue here as our new channel launches, The Legacy of Halloween. Look for that on October 1st. We've been diving into all the movies that almost happened and scripts and notes and you name it. It's been sort of our little journey throughout this year behind the scenes. But I want to take everybody on a little adventure here for a second. So our source and I spoke today at length. I mentioned it on Twitter earlier. And I think one of the reasons people go to the Season of the Witch idea when it comes to a TV series is because I think people have a hard time picturing how a Halloween TV series would work that features Michael Myers. How do you stretch a Michael Myers story out over, let's say, 8 episodes, 8 1-hour episodes, roughly? It might be 45 minutes an episode or 52 minutes, whatever. But, approximately an hour an episode over 8 episodes. How do you stretch one story across that amount of time and make it make sense? And we both sort of came up with the same idea. We also both think it's very unlikely that it happens simply because of the thought and the care and the execution that would be required. But I'm going to point you in the direction of True Detective. If you've ever seen the first season of True Detective, now keep in mind there's a big difference between A24 going and making a Halloween series and HBO going and making a Halloween series. And as far as I know, HBO doesn't have interest in it. But you create a story where Michael Myers is in it, but he's not your POV and he's not your focal point. You can take a couple of detectives and maybe the story starts way back when. Maybe the story starts in the 90s. And what happens is each episode represents another year in the story. And you slowly build up to the reveal of Michael. Think of it. If Michael Myers has never killed, and then that first episode comes out, and they just think it's a serial killer who moves on. Then the second episode comes out, and I think there'd be some debate: is this the same guy from a year ago, or is it someone else? And all of a sudden, you create this storyline of you have these detectives, if you will, who are obsessed with finding this serial killer, which is Michael Myers, and you stretch it over years. And the only way a story like this works, though, is you have to have interesting protagonists. You have to have, say what you want about Halloween Ends. Rohan Campbell's performance in Halloween Ends is fucking fantastic. You can disagree with the direction, you can disagree with the creative, but at the end of the day, that guy acted his ass off. If you've ever seen True Detective, I don't know how many people would have been like, "Oh yeah, Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey are gonna knock it out of the park in a horror thriller type series," and they did. They absolutely smashed it out of the park. So like, I'm not saying you get that level of A-list type talent, but you build a story around new protagonists that stretches out over years, and Michael becomes your Jaws, the way Michael was meant to be at the beginning, the way Michael is in John Carpenter's 1978 classic. Where you get little bits of Michael until we get a little further into the series, where you have like the big reveal of, like for the first couple episodes, he might just be killing from the shadows. Like you literally get just the shape in the first couple episodes. There are ways to do a Michael series, but you cannot do a Michael series without interesting protagonists that carry the story regardless of which creative way you go. My question for you, Matt, is someone who wants to see a blockbuster style Halloween movie, can you personally get behind a Michael Myers TV series? Because I do think it's harder to make a good horror movie or a horror series than it is a horror movie. Like I know Chucky's going on season 3, but I couldn't be less fucking interested in what they're doing with that.
Yeah, I think they could. I think, like you said, the biggest thing is you got to find the right protagonist to make it work, to make it interesting, to captivate us, to get us interested in what's going on, knowing that we don't know when Michael's coming or where Michael's coming from. Like you said, the shadows, where he was meant to be. That could work. That's the way it has to work. Because if it doesn't go any way, if it goes a different way, and it's just like another slasher, it's not going to work. So they definitely would have to go the kind of route you just suggested to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to stretch one Michael Myers story out across 8 to 10 hours, like you got to make it interesting, and you got to have more than just Michael Myers in there to keep people captivated. I see the season of the witch idea. I do, for a TV series. But you have to know that when they're bidding for these rights, whether it's a series, whether it's a movie, it's not just a financial bid, it's a creative bid as well. And you're not going to get the same amount of money for selling off the ability to go make a Season of the Witch series as you are a Michael Myers series. It's just that, and this is coming from a Season of the Witch fan. I think they can do a super creative, 6 to 10 part series, whether it's a sequel to Season of the Witch or a retelling of it or a complete remake of it stretched across that amount of time. Like Halloween and Michael Myers, for all intents and purposes, is just based in Haddonfield. Like, yeah, we go outside of Haddonfield a couple of times, but at the end of the day, it's a Haddonfield story. Season of the Witch literally stretches across all of America. So, like, the scale of that story, albeit is one movie, it's way bigger than what we see from the Michael Myers stories. But it's condensed down into 90 minutes, and it's hard to get that feeling. It's hard to really understand that when that TV is on at the end there with the big giveaway, that, yeah, there's a potential that, a massive chunk of the children in America are about to be killed. It screams for a series, in my opinion. That being said, if you're Trancas, you're not going to get as much money from it. You just won't.
But can Trancas do it knowing you're still making money, but you're not making the money of a Michael Myers scale movie? I think they would. I think they could. I know they could be successful with a story with Halloween 3 timeline or stories or 1 hour stories.
I'm not saying
that.
it can't.
Oh, I know it could work, and I feel it could make money. It's not going to make a significant amount of money, but I think it could make money, and that's what we're in the business for. And I think the Accods can do this, knowing that. And the thing about it, if anything over breaking even is successful, we do. We made money.
I don't mean that it can't be successful. I think creatively it could be an absolutely wonderful story. It depends how they go about it. I'm just saying, like, if I own Halloween, right? Or pardon me, if you own Halloween, Matt. Now, actually, let's switch that. If I own Halloween, if I own the TV series rights, and it's exclusively mine, and you and Dean are bidding for the rights to make a Halloween TV series, and I sit here and say, okay, well, it's going to cost you $100 million, and you have the rights to go make a Halloween TV series, but you can't use Michael Myers. Are you going to pay that $100 million? I think the answer is no. I'm not saying they won't pay something, because it does have some value, but there's
It
a reason.
depends on what happened. It really depends on what's prepared, what they think, what they have that can capture an audience. It depends. What are you bringing to me? Okay, it's going to be $100 million to make it, but why is going to be $100 million? Pitch me.
No, it's not $100 million budget, but $100 million just to have the right to make it. Remember,
right. If I'm going to give you, if I'm going to give you the rights, why?
Let me phrase it this way:
Okay.
if I say to you, you can have Season of the Witch for $100 million, or you can have a Michael Myers series for $100 million. Which one are you paying for?
The Michael one.
Correct. Like, how much Season of the Witch merchandise do you see in stores? The answer is almost none. And this is coming from a guy that thinks Season of the Witch is probably better than half of the Michael Myers films. I truly believe that. And although maybe that bar's not very high when you consider Ends and zombies movies and Resurrection and 5. So, I think Dean nails it. I think H3 has more potential to span across a series of stories, and I agree. That being said, I think people need to be prepared for the possibility that your next Michael Myers story might not be on the big screen. It might be on the small screen. And that worries me because there's so many fucking god awful ways they could go about doing a Michael Myers TV series that you hope that you get the right creative in charge that's going to handle it properly. You know, we'll have to wait and see. I'll say this: like A24 and Universal joint thing, when they got the rights to do a Friday the 13th series, specifically Crystal Lake, which will, I know there's been conflicting reports on this, but make no mistake, that story will include Jason Voorhees, and they do have the rights to make Jason stories on the small screen. They didn't go and get, Tom, Dick, and Harry to do it. They went and pulled the creator of Hannibal, the TV series, out, Brian Fuller. And I don't know if you guys have seen Hannibal, but Hannibal's fucking incredible. Like, if you have nothing horror related to watch right now, go watch that series. It's deep, and it's definitely not your run of the mill slasher type story or anything like that. It is a deep dive, a psychological dive that will really mess with your head, that has incredible talent attached to it behind the scenes and in front of the camera. If A24 does something similar to that with Crystal Lake, and so far, every indication is that they are doing something along those lines, it's hard not to sit here and go, okay, well, what would you do with Halloween? Now, we haven't seen anything from Crystal Lake, and the strike ended up slowing that down. But at the end of the day, I think, there's an opportunity to do a really creative Michael Myers series. I just think there's a bigger chance for it to flunk horribly, stretched across 8 or 10 episodes. Your thoughts, Matt?
I think I agree. There's an upside and downside to the Halloween 3 storyline, but it has to be told right, because we only got a brief glimpse of what we loved about Halloween 3. And the question becomes, like you said, can we drag it out 6, 8 episodes? There's potential to say yes. There's potential that it's a flat on your face no. I just don't think they should go and never have told this story of the Halloween 3 storyline.
I mean, I think creative is important. I think, I'm not saying this happens. If it's A24, it won't be him. But like, if Flanagan had a chance to tackle a Season of the Witch storyline like that, that's right in his wheelhouse. Again, if it's A24, unless they do something in conjunction with Amazon, that's not going to happen. Or Prime Video, pardon me. There's about 50 people right now watching across the 3 social media platforms we're on right now, between YouTube and the 2 Facebook pages. Let's just do a fun little experiment here. If you want a Michael Myers Halloween TV series, type 1 in the chat. But if you would rather some sort of take on Season of the Witch in a TV series, type 2 in the chat. So 1 for Michael in the chat right now, if you guys and gals can, and 2 for Season of the Witch. And let's just see where our little audience here lies with that. I'll say this. It's not going to be something new. It's just not. You're not paying out the ass to do something that currently isn't already attached to the Halloween franchise, because you can go do that without purchasing the rights to the Halloween franchise. The October says 1. Dean says he's open to it. 1. Byron says 2. Joel says 2. Heath says 2. Dustin says 2. Terry says 2. Mike has 1. October, it's still 1. I got to tell you, I'm seeing just as much interest, if not more, in doing something for Season of the Witch in a TV series. And, our audience is small compared to, something that 3C Films does. He puts out a video and he's got 10,000 views in, an hour. Um, I I find that intriguing, guys. I got to be honest. I expected to ask this question and see way more ones than twos, and yeah, it's much closer to a 50
There's a
50.
legitimate market
Yeah, well, I mean,
for it.
hopefully on a bigger scale than what we're seeing
Right.
here. They need more than 50 people across 3 social media platforms to do it. But no, that's interesting. I thought that a lot of people wouldn't have the appetite for a Season of the Witch type story. Um, it's my spouse's favorite Halloween movie, and I get it. Pardon? She said, "Heck yeah, it is." Um, and I, I remember. Um, Let me go back here before we move on to James Bond and close out here. I remember the first night I ever seen Halloween. It was Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween 4. My cousin designed it that way. He left out 3. Um, and I get it. And like for me, 1, 2, 4 is kind of like my headcanon favorite trilogy when you watch those 3 movies together. And then we just pretend 5 didn't happen. Uh, um, every time I think of 5, my inner brain goes, um, I didn't get to see 3. I seen 3 probably like a month later. And the reason my cousin left it out is because we had like a big get together. There was like probably 8 to 10 people there that night. And none of us, other than him, had seen the Halloween movies. So he thought it'd be good to see those 3 movies. He waited to show me 3. And when I did see 3, like right from the first time I ever seen it, Matt, I was like, oh, this works for me. I like the sound design. I like the Tom Atkins is fucking hilarious in that movie. Again, I have a bit of a dark sense of humor, but Tom Atkins in that movie is just fantastic. Also, Dick Warlock in that movie is fantastic. Anytime you see Dick Warlock in that movie, he's creepy as shit. The whole Silver Shamrock thing, the Colonel Cochrane thing, it really is something that in today's day and age with the right creative, you could do a less carny version of that movie, something more serious, something that again, you got to remember in the proper context of Season of the Witch. It's not, some psycho killer who breaks loose from a mental institution and goes and threatens some babysitters. It's a sick and twisted individual running essentially a cult that's goal is to kill every child in America. Like there is a massive fundamental difference in the type of stories between those two things. So I'm actually really pleased that the chat is as into a Season of the Witch idea as that. We'll have to see what happens. Any final thoughts, Matt, from you on the Season of the Witch idea? I definitely didn't expect it to be as evenly split.
No, I mean, not really. Like, there's, like I said, there's a market, and I think there is a market on a more greater scale to see something go in a Season of the Witch anthology direction. It just has to be done right. You know,
Dean's right. Everyone keep in mind nothing will be rushed out anytime soon. Yeah, again, when I said, October 2025, that wasn't me predicting October 2025. That was me saying if they really rushed it, that's as soon as you would see it. My guess is you're looking at something in the fall of 2026 in terms of a TV series, which, when you look at how long it takes a movie to go from, at least most movies, to go from the second that there's ink put to paper to when it's released in cinemas, that's, a lot of the times that can be a 5-year journey. And that would line you up for the 50-year anniversary. So I know we're talking about something that's 5 years from now and potentially 3 years from now, but these things take time. And trust me, the last thing you want to do is rush one of these things and get fucking Halloween 5 again. Sorry if you're a fan of that movie, but just how I feel. What else do we have here? Anyone else hate how AMC will put on H2 and then H1 and then H6 and then H5, all a mess? I haven't watched that. The only time I ever see the Halloween movies on AMC is if there's like a family get together on my spouse's side that we're attending, and sometimes they'll have it on around Canadian Thanksgiving. Yeah. He says, I can truly handle Michael being away from the big screen until 2026 or so and have it done right. Give Mike Flanagan a chance. Thanks, Dustin. Yeah, Flanagan would be great, but again, the only way that happens if there's some sort of deal. Like A24 would have to do a deal like they did with Universal with the Crystal Lake series that's coming, where it's a joint transaction in order to get the rights, which is very possible. I'm definitely not saying it's not. Byron says, how about a Dr. Loomis TV series? I think if done right, that could be interesting. But I still think that leads back to Michael, right? Like at the end of the day, maybe you're starting as Loomis as a young man and, building up over time. And then the final thing we get of him is maybe that 1978 Halloween night, but a different take on it. I could see something like that working. I just don't think that's a route they're going to go the same way. Like I know that Danielle Harris put out there, I think it's time for a reunion with Uncle Mikey in terms of the Halloween rights news that's going around. As much as I'd love to see that happen, I just don't think it's in the cards. I don't think it's in the cards for her. I don't think it's in the cards for Josh Hartnett to have continuations of their stories unless they do some sort of American Horror Story type, 10 different standalone episodes rather than standalone seasons, where one episode might be dedicated to something like that. I just, when you're releasing a film, you're not doing it for the diehards anymore. The diehards are not going to be the ones that, make up your box office. It's going to be the average moviegoer. It's going to be Tom and Gina from down the street. What do you got to do to get their asses in a seat? Totally made up names, by the way. Anyways, the question is, what type of Halloween TV series do you want to see? Season of the Witch, Michael Myers, or something else entirely? Comment down in the comment section below. Here's something I didn't expect to see today as we get ready to close things out, Matt. Apparently, Christopher Nolan is in talks to do not one, but 2 James Bond films not set in our current time, but would be set back in the time of, when Ian Fleming created James Bond. And I know there might be some people that don't like the idea of, having a period piece for James Bond, but like you attach Christopher Nolan to that thing and oh my, you want to talk about a box office success. You attach Christopher Nolan's name to anything and it's going to be a box office.
Instantly hooked. I don't care who they get to play Bond. If no one's attached to it, I'm trusting him.
If it's Nolan, I am betting money on it's either Tom Hardy or Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I think it'd be one of those two guys. He likes
Tom
to go
Hardy?
Yeah, he likes to go back to the same people. Maybe
Michael Loki, Brent Hiddleston.
Who is the fella in Oppenheimer? He also played Scarecrow in Batman.
Oh, Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, so Cillian Murphy, also a possibility there. So it'll be someone that he's worked with before. But I mean, the idea of Christopher Nolan doing 2 Bond films as period pieces, like I know we're talking Halloween for the majority of the film, the stream here, but like that is instant blockbuster potential that will have all eyes on it. And I'm a huge Bond fan. Every time there's a Bond movie that comes out, basically since I've been an adult, my ass has been in a seat to go see it. And I love the idea of Christopher Nolan tackling Bond. I think that would be great. And I also think going back in time, which is something they haven't done, would be good. It would be a completely different direction than what we got from the Daniel Craig movies. And I love the Craig movies. I think Daniel Craig's the best Bond we've had. That's just me. Matt, what does that idea do for you? Christopher Nolan doing Bond. For me, I get real excited at the thought.
Yeah. That's kind of like when we heard that he was tackling Batman. That feeling you got when you heard after him doing the what was it? The two movies before. You trusted him when you heard he was doing Batman. You didn't know who was going to play it, but you just trusted him, and you knew he was going to knock it out of the park, and he did 3 times. So when you hear him attached to Bond, you trust it. You trust in who he's going to get to play Bond and how the story is going to play out.
No, absolutely. Dustin says Michael Caine as James Bond. Michael Caine had some very intriguing thoughts on society lately, and I can't say I disagree with him. If you want to check those out online, I'm not going to address them here, but yeah. Triple Glax says Season of the Witch series and a Michael movie. Yeah, I think that that has the potential to be effective. I also think if you do a Michael series, you're probably not rushing to do a Michael movie, even though the film rights are worth more. That being said, I think there's already a proven track record of, hey, Scream went out and did 2 seasons of one show and then a different season of a completely different show, and then still came out with Scream 5 and 6, which were wildly successful. So there's definitely interest there. Dustin says, any news on Batman 2, as in The Batman, the sequel? Last I heard, prior to the strike, they were in the writing process and they were gunning for a 2025 release. No way that happens now. So you're probably looking at The Batman coming out in sometime in 2026. That's just, that type of production requires you to take the time that is needed to put out a good film. You know, that's a deep driven film that is not surface level shit. And you got to get it right. And it also it can't be The Batman over again, right? Like, they're not going to do that. They're not going to, oh, well, here's The Batman 2, and it's just like The Batman 1. It'll be something different, much in the same way The Dark Knight was way different than Batman Begins. So we'll see. I know there was a bunch of rumors about who the villain might be for that film, but we'll see what happens. I loved the first one. The Batman and Cyrano are probably 2 of my favorite films to come out in the last half a decade. And just both incredible pieces of art. Anyways, though, that is going to do it for us tonight. Big thanks. Court of Owls was rumored. That was one of them. There was another one that was rumored, though. I can't remember who it was. I know it wasn't someone like, we're not talking Mr. Freeze or Penguin or anything like that. It was a lesser known villain that I had seen rumored. But that's going to do it for us tonight. If you haven't yet liked the stream, comment down below, slash that notification bell, and be on the lookout for more. We'll be back one more time this week, tomorrow night. Tommy B will be joining me. I don't know if it'll be a Halloween-centric stream. I know he wants to comment a bit on the rights, but there's some other stuff to get to in the Star Wars universe. So we'll be a little bit everywhere tomorrow night. But really appreciate everybody coming out, and the support really all week as we've made this change has been incredible from all you out there. So big thanks. You'll be able to catch Matt every Wednesday here at 9 p.m. Eastern, and my guess is there's going to be a lot to talk about because Halloween 45 convention is this weekend, and Ryan Friedman did tease something big for the Sunday. I don't know what it's going to be. I know there was that rumor that we covered a little while ago that suggested something would be announced there, but I just don't know if they're far enough along in the process for that. But then again, the process started last year. The process did not start recently, so maybe. we'll have to wait and see. To all those going to the convention, be safe, have a great time, enjoy it. I think it's okay to let your expectations get a little, a little up there, but speculate responsibly, because the worst thing you could do is psych yourself up just to let yourself down. These things take time. Make no mistake, Halloween is coming back, and probably sooner than people thought, as well as Michael Myers. We'll have to see in what form of media that will be. For Matt and for Dean in the chat and everybody who came out, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you again. Have a great night.